I've lost something. This is going to be quite a weird video. It's not going to be like my usual kind of how-to style videos. It's going to be a bit more rambly and a bit more personal. It's a strange one. So basically, when I first started writing, writing was this very magical, strange, abstract, weird thing that I didn't quite understand. I could just string sentences together and just sort of see where a story took me and where the characters took me, and I didn't at any point feel like I knew what I was doing. It was just kind of this thing that I was just trying and just seeing what happened. And then I think probably around the time that I lost my agent, I sort of realised, okay, maybe this isn't the best way of doing things. You need to kind of really hone down the craft and try and figure out how to craft a good story. You can't just do everything by intuition. You need to kind of know the rules. There's got to be rules, right? And there are. And so I spent the next kind of few years after that sort of really reading loads of books about writing, watching loads of videos about writing and stuff like that, and really like trying to absorb as much information about structure and character arcs and the different kind of beats that you need to hit and how to write a good ending and stuff like that, and really like taking this kind of intuition and turning it into a craft. So to use like an analogy, if you were a carpenter, maybe your whole life you've been kind of knocking tables and chairs together just by you know what a chair looks like, so you kind of using your intuition to build a chair, and then at some point you sort of decide, okay, I'm really going to take like some chair building knowledge now, so that I can know how to build a chair that's strong, that looks beautiful, and that a professional chair maker would consider a really good chair. And what sort of happens is, and I think this is like a necessary part of the learning process, is so you have no idea what you're doing, and then you sort of do know what you're doing now. Not that any of us know exactly what we're doing. Obviously, writing is art after all, and no one is perfect at it. And I feel good. I feel good that I know loads of stuff about writing. I've recorded all these videos about story structure and stuff, and it's not stuff that I've made up. You could go elsewhere and watch other writing videos, and a lot of them will be saying very similar things to what I'm saying. And I feel good about that. I feel like I'm glad I kind of have the basis and I know. And but what sort of happened recently, and I realised it maybe about 20 minutes ago, which is why I switched the camera on. I was watching a video about, it was an interview with David Lynch. If you don't know who David Lynch is, he's a filmmaker. He made Twin Peaks and Eraserhead, and he makes lots of quite dreamy, beautiful, crazy, strange, abstract sort of films. And I realised, wait a minute, I might have lost something here. Because he's not talking about the nuts and bolts of putting it together. He's talking about the dream, the kind of the real art of it, and inspiration, and how you can kind of weave an idea, and it's like this beautiful, strange thing that you can never quite grasp, never quite understand. And I think I've lost that part a bit. It's still there somewhere, but I've sort of built this house around it, a very solid house of writing technique and knowledge. But inside that house is the dream. And although I'm really happy with what I'm writing at the moment, the fantasy series that I'm writing, I feel like I need to let those windows open and the door open in that house and let the dream flow out a bit more. And it is a very dreamlike, strange, abstract book that I'm writing, and the whole series is going to be abstract and strange. And it definitely is. But I'm not feeling the same way I felt before I knew all the writing techniques. I remember it used to feel like this such a elusive, like I'd be writing a scene and I have no idea what I'm doing, and I sort of miss that a bit, Because I feel like when I sit down to write a scene now, I know, right, okay, this needs to achieve X. The reason this scene exists is because of this, and it's going to contribute to the whole story because of this, and the reader, I want the reader to feel this way. And don't get me wrong, I think all that is really important. It's good for every scene to matter, for every scene to propel the story, for every scene to make the audience feel something. But I do miss the kind of not necessarily knowing. You can always go back, you can write a scene and sort of not know why you've written it, and it just flows out of you and it just feels like this thing that you had to write, and then you can go back and edit it and say, okay, it's good, but let's make it integral somehow. Let's make this one thing happen that means that it has to be in the story. I don't like to have any scene in the story where you could cut it out and it basically be the same story. And from what I've seen of like David Lynch's work, he's the same. Like, he will have these most strange, I'm just going to use the same adjective, strange, abstract, beautiful, ethereal scene, but you couldn't cut it out for any reason, because even though it's quite abstract, it definitely contributes something to the overall story. He's not just being weird for the sake of it, as far as I'm aware. And it's kind of that fine line, isn't it, between, okay, it's a craft and it's an art. This scene is beautiful and magical, but it's also important, and it serves a function within the story as a whole. And I was doing that graph earlier. Let me do it this way for you. So I know absolutely nothing about writing. I know quite a lot about writing now, but you sort of need to almost go back down a bit, maybe halfway, to the point where you know the techniques, you know the rules, you know you know how to craft a good scene, you know how to write good dialogue, you know where certain beats need to fall, you know when something isn't working, why it's not working. But you can't lose sight of the magic and the art and the not knowing and the winging it to some extent and just having fun with it and playing with it. You can fall into the trap of it being work, and don't get me wrong, it doesn't feel like work. I'm still having a lot of fun with it. It is coming out the way I want it to come out. But maybe it could be even better and even more enjoyable if I took a step back, pushed all the techniques and stuff to the back. It's still there, it's still in my brain, I'm not throwing it out, but I'm pushing it to the back and letting the dreams come forward a bit more. I realise I'm probably talking nonsense, but we are talking about an art here, and you know there'll be all sorts of videos about, you know, you must put this in if you want to get published, and you must have these elements if you want a reader to keep reading, and they're important. They are important, and I wouldn't be doing this channel if I didn't think I could pass on some wisdom and techniques and some kind of value and advice to help you to write a better story. But in 2021, I'm recording this in December 2020, I'd like to make more videos about the art and the dream of writing, the magic of writing, the stuff that's a bit harder to pin down, and see if we can kind of analyse it, see if we can find... there is a danger of analysing something too much to the point where you kind of break it and spoil the magic. I don't want to do that, but I do want to explore a bit more. That's what it is. It's the exploration that maybe I've missed a bit. I know how to build a good chair. I know how to build a chair that looks beautiful and you can sit on it and it's strong. But do I know how to build a chair that can fly and can travel back in time and can permeate the strangest part of your dreams and turn into something else? I think it's still there, it's still within me, but I've maybe pinned it down a bit too much, and now I need to take those pins out and let it fly. That's what I'd like to do. That's what I'm going to consciously now breathe into my work. I'm going to reread everything that I've written for this series, and anytime it feels like work, I'm going to work on it to make it feel more like play, and just to kind of loosen it up. Take the scene and think, right, okay, this scene is good, it's doing this, but what if, ask that question more, what if if I wanted to make this scene stranger and more magical and beautiful and weird and ethereal and abstract, what would I do? And then sit down with a pen and paper or at the computer and almost rewrite the scene, but doing it with the leash off, the wings unpinned, the doors and the windows of this house open and letting the magic seep out. I'm glad I've kind of caught myself, because I could have travelled down this road forever and sort of become more and more of a writer who knows the rules and knows the techniques and makes sure that every single thing he does adheres to that. I'm glad that I watched just that random David Lynch interview that made me realise, hold on, rules are good and the techniques are good. I'm glad I know them. Now let's kind of take the leash off. That's all I wanted to say today. Let me know in the comments what you think. You're probably watching this and thinking, Ben, we all know this already. We're not where you are. You might be this side of the hump or this side of the hump, and be looking at me like, oh, you poor guy, you're in that space, are you? You're in that space where you kind of know all the techniques and I don't know all the techniques, but you're in that space where the technique is almost more important than the art, and you probably just pity me maybe. But hopefully maybe you are in a similar space, or you're worried that you are going to fall into a similar trap. My advice is don't. Have those heroes that remind you that it is magic, and don't lose it. Hold on to that. Hold on to whatever drew you to write in the first place. Hold on to that and do not let it go. There's been books that I've written before this where it felt there was a magic there that is not gone but lost a little bit in my head, and I just need to unearth it and see where it can take me. So thank you for listening. I think you should watch these two videos next, and if you liked it, give me a like. I really would like to hear in the comments what you thought of that. I plan a lot of my videos. I don't script them, but I do plan them, and this was one that I just had to make. So see you later, guys. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.